It was a scene that played on my mind a lot. I read it early on and I was thinking, how do I play that authentically?
Hey, what's up, Toby? My name is Nigeria Chambers from Big Go Boat Media. It's a pleasure to talk to you today about all things for all mankind, season 4. How are you doing?
Oh, very well, fella. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So this is one of my favorite shows, and I tell everybody who knows me, even cast members in the past. And as always, I'm looking forward to the next season. I'm already looking forward to season 5 once that announcement gets made, hopefully very soon. But I was so excited to see you casted and to really get a glimpse of your character, not only just super early in the season, but just actually relate with this character throughout the entirety of the season in this world.
Right.
And this is a character, Miles, who comes in from the civilian side of things. He's middle class, coming out of Louisiana and just trying to make a dollar for his family and just raw emotions pretty early, understanding his motivation, their sacrifices, even just being so optimistic about what would a job on the moon, thus the Mars, be, but he knew he had to do it for his 2 baby girls. How excited for you to be a part of this family, be a part of this series, and having a character that you knew was instantly going to grab the hearts of the viewers?
Very sweet. I mean, the truth is, it is so well written. It's so beautifully done. The thought, the detail that goes into it. It's really a role you could kind of phone in a performance. It just takes that detail, putting in the background. So just, you know, a phenomenal opportunist, starts out as an opportunist, always looking for these things. The interview alone's an opportunity. So he goes through that process, he gets it, he's always kind of waiting for the penny to drop. And I think what's really nice about this character, as I read through it, its arc is really what pressure does to that type of person. So you really see someone actually blossom when
Yeah.
he realizes what's important, because of course his daughters are important. Of course, his ex-wife is important to him, all of these things, but he's telling himself how much is important and never really acknowledging what he does. He's that kind of, well, I don't need very much. I'm a kind of humble guy. I don't need very much. But I think the pressure of space, the journey, getting there, things not working out the way they were promised,
Yeah.
I think reveals a beautiful character. So there's still so much excitement, even if you're in episode, wherever we're at now, 6, whatever was shown at the time of this conversation, there's still so much to come, and it's so tightly packed into that last part. It's just, yeah, fans already, but I also was a fan.
Well, I have seen it all, so I will caution everybody to make sure that I will release this once it has all dropped. So I've seen it all, and I'm definitely going to cheat forward about some of the questions I have. I want to talk about 2 of my favorite scenes. Hopefully, we can get these both in before the time today. The interrogation scene, that scene was just amazing. And I want to know, did you sort of tap into any real life moments and emotions to really channel it through your characters about a man really stuck between a rock and a hard place, life and death, if you must say, in order to survive because he thought about his family?
It's a beautiful question. It was a scene that played on my mind a lot. I read it early on and I was thinking, how do I play that authentically? For things that when you read in a script, you're a fan, you really are, the it gets taken out of the room. So how would that physically, appear on the body? And there's a bunch of stage directions you always have to delicately manage to make authentic. So I'm glad it hit. It's another process of trying to figure out what physically happens to the body whilst also keeping the emotional stakes incredibly high, because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to do and in addition, in that situation, you're being knocked around and all these things. you're not quite sure you actually have the answers. So there's
Yeah.
always that part that I think is missing sometimes from interviews, like the guy's holding it and then he's like, all right. So I always like to try and find something that I think would be authentic, whether it ever manages to hit. But it was a brilliant scene. The guys were fantastic. It goes on to something, it led into something so fantastic. That was the great, joy of having these brilliant scripts.
Yeah.
Fantastic writers, truly.
Yeah, and I would even say too, I even think it might have made them even kind of think twice that a man thought about his wife and what could happen to his wife on Earth as a consequence of his actions. And I think there was maybe a moment of sigh of just remorse because of it. But to kind of go forward a little bit here, because of the sake of time, you're right. It does lead to one of my favorite line of the entire season, which you said, listen, we got something to do. I'm tired of this shit. Time to show who really runs this base in this whole crusade, which is brilliantly done. But since I have one final question, I want to cheat forward here as the end of the season. We do go forward to 2012. And we're going to talk season 5 predictions because we don't know anything about season 5 yet. But we do see Mars looking from Happy Valley and the Goldilocks, aka now, which I almost cried when they announced it as the Kuznetsov station. We don't quite see where my man goes here. We don't see where Miles go, but we know Miles was temporarily kind of doing this for the family, supporting the family. We knew what was at stake with his ex-wife, and obviously his daughter has obviously gotten older. We've seen how family can really be torn apart with the divide of who's on spaces and who's on Earth. If you had to kind of put Miles somewhere going forward, where do you think he would be? Is he on Mars? Is he on this new station? Did he take it back home?
History is a tough one to talk about, and we're talking about a fantasy version of the future of history. It's a very strange kind of paradox. I think if you look back on history to any authentic pioneers, I think that's where Miles is at. He really feels like the work belongs to the workers, therefore the rewards also. So, once he gets the support of the higher ranking people on base, I think he's found his new home. And I think it's the tragedy of it. But back in history when you could only travel by a seafaring ship, the amount of time it takes, the things that change, the thought processes that change. I'm an Englishman. There's that journey to Australia that in the 50s and 60s, people were still taking the steamer over. It's an 8-9 week journey. This is months long journey. I think Mars grabs Miles. There were a couple of different versions I can't really speak to, but there were a couple of different versions of the ending. One which I thoroughly enjoyed. And maybe I'd have ended up with face tattoos in the next season. But there were some brilliant ideas floating around, and that was again, working on a show that's so detailed and so thoughtful. It allows for such scope, and they say, well, what if? And I think that's beautiful. The time shift allows you to jump ahead. You get, it fulfills a greed.
Yeah.
What happens? Where does it go? So I think it's about being pioneers, and I think it's, akin to, countries being set up in the history that we know, I think.
All right, all right. I'm absolutely on board for it. I'm looking forward to it. And again, this has been one of my favorite characters. Obviously, been a tremendous honor to talk to you today. Miles' story is so relatable, from an AC man to an astronaut, even getting Lee his wife, which is something that should be very much noted. Having that moment, which I shed a little tear about as well too. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this character go for the next season in the year of 2012. So once again, Toby, it's a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we get to talk again very soon.
We will, I hope. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I